Alright, welcome back. This will be part 8 in our character texture creation tutorial series. So we have a pretty good base for our body textures throughout the entire character. So in my point of view, though, it's good enough to go send this back to Maya to see what it looks like in Maya. We can always go back and forth to update these textures, add more detail as we move along. So what we're going to do now is move to the cloth, and this is just going to be a demo, and this has a different material, different UV set to show how we can add opacity detail. So I'm going to turn on my cloth layer and start adding some cloth detail to this as well, and then we'll come back and do opacity. Now if you remember back from the second video, we changed the material from PBR metallic rough to PBR metallic rough alpha blending, so that adds the ability to paint on opacity. What we did with the body, also all of these materials have opacity to them as well, so we can come in here to like our default shirt material, and there's our opacity. It's not owned by default for most materials, but it is there in case you wanted to add that detail. So we're going to add some like roughing torn areas to areas of the cloth, and we're going to talk about how to add that opacity in here. So here's cloth material. I can turn off my body if I want to, because I just want to see the cloth. But it's nice to see the body underneath it to know how this cloth is going to interact with it. So let's go find just a basic fabric. Let's go look at the smart materials for fabric. See what we can come up with. Fabric, flannel. Do I want it to be a flannel piece of cloth? Fabric superhero, synthetic. Some specific patterns. Burlap. Canvas creased. I don't know, I might come back to canvas crease. Let's just do fabric flannel. Okay, let's drag that in there. So we have a kind of a pattern on our texture as well. Let it load. So I've not baked my mesh maps for my cloth yet, so it's not going to do all of that detail, but look at that, it's pretty good quality detail texture so far. Let's go ahead to the cloth and bake our mesh maps for our cloth. We'll do a 2048 map again and do bake cloth mesh maps. Let that roll for a second. And that should update that smart material with like some other detail that we can add to it. Smart materials are also really good to add some more normal detail that potentially wasn't there on the low polygon model. Whereas you don't have to manually paint on all of those details. I'm going to let it build all of the maps here and then reapply them to that smart material. Alright, so it didn't do too much of a change. Well, actually it's currently updating it right now. There you go. So yeah, so look at all those kind of interesting creases that added there. That's pretty neat. So I don't like the red color, so let's go in here and go down to the base flannel. Maybe we'll do an orange for this character to match my color scheme that I had earlier. Bunch of grays. Looks pretty good. I don't want red bumps. So maybe that's a clumps. Yep, clumps. So we'll change that to an orange. Orange bumps we wanted to. Discoloration, maybe we'll do like blue. Kind of neat. Do blue color variation there. Makes it more yellow, actually. That's fine. All right, maybe pattern horizontal. Let's just change it to a different orange. Change that color a little bit. We just don't want to have like the reds, darker red. There we go. That's kind of neat. So we can also go to an individual pattern and then change like the size of it as well. So I can drag up the size, see if that's going to work. I might need to go back down to the stripes. If I don't want that horizontal pattern, I can just do a diagonal pattern. We'll do that, some diagonal pattern there. That's pretty neat. So the nice part about smart materials is it gives you more levels of detail. So we'll leave it as a diagonal shape. Folds. So here's my folds. That's pretty neat. Let's go into clumps and maybe we'll add some more balanced variety with the clumps. There you go, more, but we'll lower the contrast on them more. Not as vibrant. Take that material, we'll go down to the height Drag that back some. So it's a little bumpy, not too bumpy. There you go, that looks pretty good. Alright, so I'm not going to need this pattern horizontal, so I'm just delete that out. Let's see what else we got here. Folds. Alright, folds. So it might be good to add a different diagonal angle to this. So let's change the rotate. Keep rotating it around. I do like vertical folds. That could be pretty neat to see. Looks a little better as it's moving around. Maybe I'll change the scale. Smaller. I'll do 0.5. Larger ones. That looks kind of cool. Larger folds. Gives the impression that there's more detail geometry wise than what there really is. So it's nice I can also hold down Alt and duplicate this. Add another folds copy. And let's change the scale. So let's do like smaller folds now. We will lower the opacity down some. Let's see, maybe not it's working that one. Put in my balance. There we go. That's looking a little better. The smaller little folds that could be added to it. Maybe we'll try like overlay. No, it's not changing that too much with this one. Noise parameter. Just kind of back some. I don't know. Maybe that's getting to be too much, but kind of some interesting detail that we can add. Put this one underneath the other one. There you go. So there's a ways that we can, continue to adjust some of those folds or whatnot. Fiber general wear, kind of neat looking. So if I look at like some of the corners, I'm gonna wear some of that down. Maybe we'll drag that or bounce that back off a little more. There you go. Discoloration. There's a lot of other things like edge darkening, which is kind of neat that it's doing there. Play around with some of that. All right, so that looks pretty good. A little good starting point. Now let's talk about creating an opacity detail for this fabric. So what we need is a new fill layer. And within this fill layer, roll this up some. We'll just go ahead and title this one opacity. Okay. And the only thing I'm using this layer for is opacity. So I don't need height in my channel materials. Over here, I'm gonna turn off height and turn off normal, turn off emissive, roughness, and metal. And eventually I'm gonna turn off color. But I'm gonna leave color on here so I can visualize this and see what areas are gonna be transparent, what areas are gonna be opaque. So I'm just making an obnoxious red color so that way as I'm painting, I can know what is what. All right, so on this layer, the only thing that's gonna be visible is opacity and color. If I go down to opacity and I drag this all the way to the left, then that will make the entire thing 100% transparent or 50% transparent. So if this wanted to be some kind of see-through type of material, then I can make it like that. Eventually, I'm going to turn everything to 0% opacity. So that way, just the areas that I paint with a mask will be visible. So with that fill layer, I'm just going to have color and opacity on there right now. And then I'm going to do a white or black mask. So let's just try it with a black mask. So that's going to make it so that we don't see this layer. And if I get a brush tool, regular paint brush, and let's go back to my brushes. There's brushes. And let's just start with like an artistic brush or something like that. And let's just go paint in here. Okay, so let's see what that does. So that way when I paint this, and let's go back to my fill layer, not the mask, but the fill, and drag my opacity uniform color all the way down. Okay. So what that does is makes whatever I just painted transparent. So you see the hole there in that cloth. So if I continue painting, let's go back to my brush and paint. Let's paint off this entire corner for whatever reason that is. Go back and clean up and fill those areas back. So that'll make it look like this cloth is completely gone in that area. Okay, I'm going to clean up those corners some more. Let's make sure we're at UV and texture blend it all off on those corners. There you go. All right, so basically with the black mask, you're painting on the transparent areas and keeping the other areas opaque. Okay. So that's one way we can do this. Instead, let's just remove this mask. I'm gonna do it that way, but I just want to make sure with the black mask that I'm only cutting off the areas that I don't want to keep here. So I'm gonna create some more distortion or kind of streaks. Maybe do chalk spread a little bit. I don't know. I want it to be charcoal light. Let's just try here. Something like that. Want more diagonal lines. Let's try chalk strong, maybe. Yeah, that looks kind of good. Looks like it's kind of being torn or weather away. I can go back and kind of clean up some areas as well. So this bottom right corner is the one that has the transparency to it. Drag this so it will cut in areas. I want it to be kind of asymmetrical. So I don't want both sides to be kind of perfectly aligned. Maybe get a smaller brush and come in here and add some other kind of torn areas to it as well. It can get really small. Whoop. Looks like I got an inverse value by accident. Let's just drag my grayscale back up. Okay, so we can do some torn areas. I'm over here somewhere on the back. There you go. So trying to create some kind of cut lines that would kind of make sense here. There you go. Maybe I'm doing like a bigger, wider cut line. So let's try to see what else we got here with brushes. That one could look kind of neat. Let's try that. Smaller brush size. Yeah, we'll just use that. Here we go. So that's kind of neat. Look at the back of it now. Here you go. I'll have to come back and clean up a lot of that, but kind of create some interesting diagonal lines as it comes out as well. Zoom out, see if we can get some more kind of pokes, prods of kind of scrapes and scratches that would kind of rip and tear the cloth in areas. See if we can flood that corner a little more there. Come back and clean this up a little more later. Okay, let's go back with a little bit more variety of a brush. There you go. That looks pretty good. It's kind of cleaning up some of those areas. There you go. It's currently saving, so I'll pause for a second. Alright, so we'll continue on. We'll continue adding some brush stroke areas here to kind of clean up some of this. Good. Keep working our way around. Kind of clean up all this so it's not too crazy of holes. Alright, there we go. So that way, we can have what looks like kind of a torn and tattered look to this as well. Maybe we'll do it to like this bottom corner and the back corner and kind of leave the rest as is. So with this bottom one, we will come in and kind of tatter it up a lot. We'll zoom in so we can get a little closer here. There we go. So this is we can just play with how we are kind of making areas tattered or whatnot. We'll continue to kind of pull bigger areas out like that, which could be neat to see. Make sure we're cleaning up that edges. What we don't want is kind of free floating little areas like that. So we need to go back through and kind of make sure Have any of that? I guess that's over here somewhere. There you go. All right, that'll add a lot more, tattered and varied detail. Do the back side. There's this top corner. Okay. So I'm just trying to get some kind of a base here. What we might want that tattered look to look like. So then the rest of it I can come in and add some more patches and holes. I want a little hole there. A little hole there. To add some more variety in what areas are kind of cut through here. Just trying to quickly add some detail as well. Over here we'll have some horizontal ones. There we go. Over here we'll have some other kind of horizontal ones as well. Maybe this huge hole. Kind of neat looking. On the back we'll add a couple as well. Maybe a really big one back here. Come in and kind of put some little tattered little lines coming out of it or whatnot. Blend that a little more. There we go. All right, so that way in the entire body it looks like this cloth is kind of tattered. All right, so the red is just temporarily there to give us a means of seeing what areas are going to be opaque versus transparent. Now I just did as the black and white values. If you do gray values, then areas will be semi-transparent, and you can make your adjustments accordingly to that. The final thing we want to do is just turn off that color channel there. So that way it visually looks like it is has more transparency detail than what the basic map would allow it to have. Okay. All right, and that's how we do opacity detail within Substance Painter. Create a fill layer, add the opacity channel and the color channel so that you can draw it on there, add a black map, and then you're painting on the areas that you want to be transparent. And then we're going to turn off the color layer so that way that we don't want to pull that red color into our final textures. All right, that'll wrap up this video. The next video we'll come back and talk about how to export textures out from Substance Painter and then pull them into Maya and load them into the Stingray PBS material properly.